Today we are going to talk about equivalent ratios. What are equivalent ratios? Well, they're two or more ratios that show the same relationship. So we will look at examples of that today, but they have to have the same relationship. How do we find them? Well, we multiply or divide each part of our ratio by the same number. So it's similar to finding equivalent fractions. We will multiply or divide each part, but it must be by the same number so we keep that relationship the same. Okay, so today we are going to do that by using ratio tables, which are a way to find and organize our equivalent ratios. So it keeps everything in this little table to keep everything organized. So here is an example of that. So if I have a ratio of dogs to cats, and my ratio is 4 to 6, I could find equivalent ratios by multiplying them both by the same thing. So for example, I could multiply both 4 and 6 by 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 6 times 2 is 12. So another equivalent ratio would be 8 to 12. So if I said my ratio is dogs to cats, one ratio would be 4 to 6. An equivalent ratio would be 8 to 12. Now we could take that 12 and multiply that by 3 to get 36, and that 8 by 3 as well to get 24, which would get us another equivalent ratio. Another option would be to go all the way back to that 4 and say, okay, 4 times what equals 24? Well, we would multiply by 6. So we could multiply 6 by 6 as well to get 36. So your equivalent ratio would be 24 to 36. The other thing that you could do is divide. So I can divide both 4 and 6 by 2. So let's go back here a little, make ourselves some room. If I divide both 4 and 6 by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So another equivalent ratio would be 2 to 3. So the amount of equivalent ratios can keep going depending on what we multiply or divide by. Let's take a look down here and try a couple of examples. So we are going to go ahead and look at the ratio of pens to pencils. So for every one pen, there are 3 pencils. We need to find out what happens then if there are 2 pens. Well, how do I get from 1 to 2? I multiply. I multiply by 2. Therefore, I want to multiply that 3 by 2, keeping that relationship the same. 3 times 2 is 6. So it's kind of like if we were to draw a picture of one pen and 3 pencils, pencil, pencil, pencil. These are like a set. This is a set, one set. So then to find out the next set, so if I have 2 sets, how many pencils would I have? Or if I have 2 pens in a set. Then we can look at the next one. So we've got 3. How do we get from 3 to 9? Well, we multiply by 3. So if I have 9 pencils in a set, that would mean I have 3 sets. I would multiply this by 3 as well. 1 times 3 is 3. So if I have 9 pencils, I have 3 pens. Let's do one more example here. Dogs to cats. My ratio is 4 to 6. This is the same one from up here. So once again, we look here and say, okay, 6 times what equals 12? 6 times 2. Therefore, 4 times 2 is going to get me 8. Then I look here. How do I get from, I can either go back to that 4 or stay at that 8. How do I get from 8 to 24 times 3? So if I multiply my 12 times 3, I would get 36. Now it's important to remember if I go all the way back to the 4, then I need to go all the way back to the 6. If I stay at that 8 in that second column, then I need to stay at that 12. I stay here. I can't say, okay, 8 times 3, but 6 times 3. That won't work. All right, I've got one word problem for you. It says you are making a pizza. The ratio of pepperoni to sausage is 5:3. You put 12 sausages on your pizza. How many pepperonis do you put on your pizza? So show at least one way to find the answer using equivalent ratios. So I like to also make my charts up and down. So if mine is pepperoni to sausage, and the ratio is 5:3, and I put 12 sausage, that means pay attention, 12 sausage, that goes in my sausage category. Now from here I look and I say, okay, well, how do I get from 3 to 12? I multiply by 4. Therefore, I multiply by 4 over here. 5 times 4 is 20. This is telling me that anytime I have 12 sausages, I will need to put 20 pepperonis. So how many pepperonis do you put on your pizza? I put 20 pepperonis on my pizza.